I'll have to start this one with a disclaimer. I'm not truly an atheist if we take the standard definition that it is someone that disbelieves the existence of God. Well, again, if we take the word God very loosely to mean a programmer of a sort. Let me explain. Namely, Nick Bostrom, a well-known Oxford professor, has a very nice simulation argument. It has recently been popularized by some people like Elon Musk, and I will not elaborate on it here, maybe in another video. However, it is very logically sound, and it means that there is a very large probability that we live in some kind of a simulation. In that case, not that only there is a kind of God, but there might be a chance that of the most personal, conventional type of God. You know, the one that listens to your prayers and make your team win and the other team lose because you prayed more, even if the God is a teenager from the future playing in their room. Anyway, that ultimate programmer is fairly irrelevant to our subject today because I'm not aware of any churches we built for him or her, or whatever the entity is. We did, however, build churches for sun gods, Norse gods, Greek, Roman gods, Shiva, Vishnu, Buddha, and fairly recently houses for the prayers of Christian, Muslim, and other monotheistic religions and their branches. Now, the story starts with me being a boy and seeing some kind of a sketch of a very bad photograph of Sagrada Familia. Even though the article clearly talked about a real church, I was shaking my head and literally did not believe that this structure is real. I thought it was a drawing. It was so different from anything I have seen in my life. Now, years passed until I finally realized that the building actually exists. Wow, a church, a Roman Catholic church, nonetheless, started in 1882, if you can believe it, taken over by Antonio Gaudi himself, a devout Catholic, who managed to finish only a small part of it until his untimely death in 1926. Now in 2019 the church is still not finished, but it still continues to amaze people throughout the world and attract millions of tourists to Barcelona every year, only a small fraction of which are Catholics, and probably a fraction of people realizing it is a Roman Catholic church. Although Gaudi was a religious man, Oscar Niemeyer was not. Though he describes his sentiment with a childlike purity that needs no unwrapping when he says, "A church is something very beautiful. It is nice when people feel happy in it." But then he goes on to say, "Look at us and then at the infinity of space. We are rather small, insignificant creatures, wouldn't you say?" And there he maybe hints toward one of the greatest inspirations behind architecture, the desire to feel significant. And again, he was not religious. Even a brick wants to be something, Louis Kahn said. The designer of the first Unitarian Church of Rochester, considered one of the best church designs of the 20th century. Frank Lloyd Wright, considered one of the greatest architects of all time, for example, equated God with nature. I prefer to say that nature is the only body of God that we shall ever see, and since nature manifests itself with such plurality, he had no problem letting his pen be guided by the Unitarian Church, Jewish, Greek Orthodox Church. Form should not follow function. Form and function should be one, he said. So what is the function of a church that can be one with such different forms? The house of God? Or more of a sanctuary where our mind gets to be quiet and listen to itself for a while? What is the function of a church for an atheist? Or do you think we should just level them all like the communists tried to? One of my favorite architectural objects is the Leipzig University building. And your hunch is not fooling you. It does look like a church, doesn't it? Because it was, until 1968, when those communists did level it to the ground. And then Erik van Egeraat restored it. And although we are looking at a building of higher education, a house of science, it reminds us of the solemnity of the house of contemplation. Well, there may be something that connects the two. Maybe architects just lost courage. They either fall prey to their proverbially inflated ego and design something with the sole goal of being different, or they design something out of fear of losing a client or money, fear of losing square meters, so they pack them neatly into efficient boxes. And brave is not the one who does not fear, nor is the one who fears and succumbs. Brave is the one who fears and fights with reason, heart, and dignity. And that is what churches represent in our cities and our villages. Fear of death, fought with the heart of an artist, reason of an engineer, and dignity of a poet. Tolkien was religious, but that did not stop me from reading Lord of the Rings in one breath. I have all the books and listened to all the talks by Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, Christopher Hitchens, Daniel Dennett, and I am a true fan. But however, that does not change the fact that too many cookie-cutter boxes with their flat ceilings and straight walls and boring columns made us forget how a space can affect us, how a sudden pressure of an open dome can make you shut up, how colors of a church window can make your pupils dance, how symmetry can pull you to the middle of the floor and make you walk in a straight line. Again, that Frank Lloyd Wright, a truly cinematic architect as Paul Goldberger would call him, would make his entrances small so that you almost have to bend to enter, just so that you can be moved by the larger space inside. Maybe that works even when exaggerated, like this little store in Japan I happened to pass by a couple of years ago. But maybe architects just lost courage. So the only interesting object we get to see in many places is that single tower or a dome with some symbol on it. Give me the money and I will show you courage, an architect would say. Maybe. My money is an issue, to be honest. Churches should definitely not be built from a state, city, government budget. It should be a matter of choice, and it should come from a special church tax that people can opt in or out of. This is how it is in Germany. I do not pay that, at least not until I see the ultimate simulator on the list. And I don't feel guilty about it. I don't get anything from any church. Except that reminder that even a brick wants to be something. That sometimes, for some reason, people get inspired. People can create amazing spaces that can literally change our state of mind. My architect friend, surprise, surprise, we stick together, is also not fond of religion. Yet what inspired him to become an architect is one of the most magnificent cathedrals you will ever see in the most beautiful city in the world, the Cathedral of St. Mary in Seville. When I first came here, I didn't believe humans can build this, he said to me. What a coincidence that that is what I thought about another church, Sagrada Familia, and found immense inspiration. So, should we build churches? An atheist asked. Hell yeah! Pun not intended. If nothing else, just to remind ourselves that we have imagination. These are contraforti, or buttresses. They take care of the lateral forces in a church, so the structures can have some of the widest spans. The vaults can have the most beautiful rib structures that remind us that structural design can also be an art in itself. Gaudi famously used chain structures to construct a form that has no bending, only axial forces. One could argue that the first examples of parametric design are also found in temples. So you can see the heart and logic can create something beautiful. Frank Lloyd Wright strived to make the landscape more beautiful with a man-made object on it than without. He wanted his building to not be on the hill, but off the hill. And that is what great architecture does. Maybe an atheist can find an inspiration to be innovative and creative in a place that he would last search for. Should we build churches? That's not the right question. The ones who want to build with their own money should. The right question is, why are not our houses, our office spaces, and our schools built with the same fear and courage as churches? Because it does not fit the function? And be open-minded, the Burning Man temple is also a church. We need spaces that inspire us and make us feel. And we should build museums and music halls and schools, but they have function, and therein lies the problem. These objects, for an atheist, have no real function. Therefore, they're almost pure art in some ironic way, and therefore have one of the highest functions an object can have: to inspire. An object that is not so much about how it looks or what it does, but cares mostly about how it feels. And that is what architecture should be about.